moment lately has made you hate people. Story 1. At a birthday party on Saturday night, guy there who I've never met before starts chatting to me, seems pretty cool and fun, spends the entire night with me as basically my shadow, offers to walk me home. I declined, and then kisses me before I leave. Next morning I have a friend request from him on Facebook where it clearly displays his wife. Poor woman, people really can be outrageous. Story 2. I've worked customer service for a long while, so I was under the assumption that I developed a thick enough skin and nothing could ruin my day. Then I had a lady cuss me out while yelling over an expired 50-cent coupon. I've been cussed out several times before and am used to being a sounding board for pent-up frustration, but this one got to me for some reason. I just can't fathom caring so little for your fellow man that you're willing to publicly degrade them over less than $1. That, and she left in a Lexus. Story 3. People seem to be getting worse at driving every day. I had someone stop completely for no good reason on an on-ramp the other day. Almost caused a huge accident. Story 4. Direct supervisor at work. Keep up the good work. The next week manager at work and being told by your team leaders that your productivity hasn't been up to our standards, so hey, race a performance plan. I could have fixed this weeks ago if you had bothered to tell me something or even send an email. Story 5. I was walking by myself to a restaurant to pick up some sushi, and I happened to be wearing a shirt of the college I went to. I walked by some guy and his girlfriend, and the guy goes, "Hey man," I respond with, "Hey, what's up?" He then yells F name of college I went to. It wasn't a huge deal, but it just annoyed me that he felt the need to talk smack to a random dude walking by. I'm not even a die-hard fan of my college or anything, I was just wearing the shirt. Story 6. To be honest, the most recent one was the college scandal. It really bothered me. I had to pay for my own college, and had loans, and I worked my off going to school and working full-time, and these people are just buying their kids in, and some of the kids make comments about how much they hate being there. Story 7. I was walking my dog around the neighborhood the other day and 4 off-leash chihuahuas came running up to her barking. This isn't even the first time that's happened with these little yappy. The owners are always in the house, nowhere in sight. She is not friendly with other dogs and will bite when they run up on her like that. I hate these people who think it's okay to let their dogs run around off-leash. The dogs clearly don't know boundaries, and one of them is going to get hurt if they keep it up. Story 8. We had a huge snowstorm the other day. After it was over, and the roads were plowed, it was still a mess outside. A lot of the roads were still icy. I was walking to the train station and I had to cross a road, but some guy wanted to take a left turn while I was on the crosswalk. He pulled his car uncomfortably close while I penguin walked slowly as not to fall. That honked at me. My heart rate was through the roof for like an hour. I almost fell down. His car was like a foot from me and he honked. Story 9. I think everybody who works customer service knows this kind of customer. The customer that wants to take their displeasure about the company's rules out on you. I work as a waitress, and the other day I had this lady complain about the portion size for our mac and cheese. She asked me if I felt like the portion size was enough for an adult. I thought it was, but I didn't tell her that. Instead I offered to bring her a second side of it free of charge. She cut me off and said, "No, if you think this is an acceptable portion size for an adult, then I will eat it." She spent the entire rest of the meal visibly upset and giving me really curt one-word answers every time I checked on her. When I asked her if everything was all right, she would say things like "I guess" or "sure." I offer her the extra side of mac and cheese again, but she still didn't want it. I later dropped the check and she left cash on the table, looked at me smugly, and walked out. When I went to the table to pick up the cash, this made sure to pay exact cash right down to the cents and wrote "nope" in the tip box on the receipt. She wanted to make sure I didn't even make so much as a cent from her. Woman, I have absolutely no control over the portion sizes. WTF. Story 10. At the restaurant I work at, another server and I are put on a party of 30 on a busy Friday night. They're screaming across the table the whole time. Half of them wanted to change their orders after we already rang them in. A couple started dancing on top of the tables and when told to get down told everyone to off. When security came they started screaming more on how they were spending so much money here. Security actually let them stay and later a fight broke out amongst the table and punches were thrown. Their bill was $873.65 and the best kicker is that my restaurant doesn't do automatic gratuities on large parties, so they left a total of $900. Keep in mind I have to tip out bussers, bartenders, and on busy nights food runners. I actually lost money taking care of these horrible people because our security and my management. Story 11. This may be dumb and I totally don't expect people to reciprocate, but when my toddler waves or says hi to people, they give him dirty looks. I understand because I don't like kids either, but he's been in speech and never talked, so he's excited to communicate with people. All he can say is hi. It happens like 80 of the time. Story 12. I have a good friend now, crush, that I'm very close with. Since I started doing more stuff with her, some of my friends started following along and became friends with her too. Now I'm no jealous guy, but ever since I sort of introduced her to my group of friends, these two guys in our group have become the biggest white knights in the world. Everything she does, they do. She makes a point in an argument, they'll agree, etc. It's gotten to a point where I had a small fight with her about something I said in the past. No big deal. The thing is, these two guys I literally considered friends started lying and chatting behind my back, which I found out about later. This was all done to score bonus points with the girl. I still see them and still consider them friends even after confronting them with it. However, I can't say it will always be the same. Literally talking behind someone's back and denouncing me just for some bonus points with a girl honestly hurt me. It felt like a huge backstab for sure, and it just reminded me that people can still be, so you need to watch out who you trust. Story 13, realizing that 10 of cars in my neighborhood drive at night with their high beams on all the time, because one headlight is out. Fix your low beams, people. Story 14, it seems that cheating in relationships is becoming normalized and has even less repercussions to the person cheating. It's a simple concept that if you aren't willing to be monogamous, then don't get into a monogamous relationship. It's so easy to leave someone in the dust for your own personal gain in today's society that it makes me furious to think about. Story 15, not all people, but older people. I constantly see senior citizens being mean and rude to cashiers, servers and so on. I can't stand it. Most of the time these workers are younger and this is their first jobs. Be nice and patient, please. Story 16, a politician tweeting that unused electricity gets used up by wind turbines and as a result produces more wind. I still can't believe how somebody could be this special and still have some kind of political career. Story 17, political rhetoric has become childish and divisive. There is less substance than ever before, as well as disturbing trend toward overlooking practical realities. Story 18, rising drug prices. When you have people who need a specific drug to live, like insulin for diabetics, and the costs have gone through the roof, for no other reason than greed, it makes me wonder how the owners of these drug companies and politicians who allow it to happen can sleep at night. Story 19, seeing a man smack his dog's head off a wall because it wanted to stop and sniff some grass. I would have intervened, but a woman already stopped him and called police for cruelty. Story 20, boyfriend I thought was maybe cheating on me has been cheating on me for months and telling me it was all in my head. I should have dropped him there, but I was dumb and didn't. We decided if he blocked her on everything and worked forward and made it just us and communicate openly ITLL work, and I wanted to help him with his novelty issues. Unbeknownst to me, he unblocked her the next day and told her that he dumped me so they could get into a relationship. He also knew that one of his best friends had a thing for that other girl. He openly confided in my ex for advice and he led him on and continued his behaviors. Oh yeah, also the other girl knew he had a girlfriend, but she didn't care. I love people right now. Story 21, the increasing amount of people crossing the road a couple of meters away from a traffic light. My ma'am almost knocked down a girl walking to school today who just did not look before crossing the road right after a blind corner. My ma'am beeped loudly and had to slam on the brakes and she barely glanced at us. Yet my ma'am would be the bad person if she was knocked down. Story 22, I guess the dating culture right now is just so toxic to me, just based on hookups and cheap thrills instead of genuine emotion or experiences. I don't hate people, but watching the notion of empathy and compassion die a slow death at the hands of people who use others as a means to an end is depressing. Story 23, the worst thing lately is how everything has become one extreme or the other. There are no in-between on the public forums anymore. Either you are A with us and whatever you do is perfect, or you are against us and everything you do is terrible. There can't be anyone trying to be in the middle, having ideas from both sides of the discussion on any point. Everything has to be on the extreme. You can't have a debate. You cannot have an article with a train of thought throughout. It's all in the title or bust. People don't want to think about the other person sitting next to them, or they want to include everyone in the discussion. Even when it's not the sound way of doing things, there is no more middle ground, and American politics has exacerbated this point even more. I am not American, and we see the right versus left all the time here, even though it doesn't work like that. People in the public industry, schools, government, public services haven't caught up to that and haven't changed their method of marketing and their way of communicating with the younger generations, and it shows in every possible ways. To me, this is a worrying trend, and it makes me hate individuals for their extreme opinions, which never happened to me earlier in life. There would always be a common ground between us somewhere. Now it's all with me or against me. That makes me furious sometime. Story 24, I don't know if it's hate so much as disappointment, but when did we stop holding people accountable for their actions, especially when it affects others? It's crazy what some people can do without conscience or consequence. Story 25, every time I have to explain basic computer skills to people whose job involves sitting in front of a computer 8 hours a day, like, your job literally depends on this tool, and you willfully know nothing about it, people are so mentally lazy it makes me want to vomit. How have they survived to adulthood while apparently having no critical thinking or problem-solving skills at all? This world is too soft on the stupid. Story 26, I was walking along the sidewalk downtown and a nice pair of sunglasses landed next to me. I turned to the group of people next to me, who were waiting to get into a bar, and asked if the sunglasses belonged to them. One of them said, yeah, those are mine, so I handed them over. A guy coming the other direction had seen the whole thing. A woman in the balcony above had dropped the glasses. He yelled up to her, did you drop your glasses? And motioned for the thief to give the glasses back, which he did. Just stealing so casually really pissed me off. And hey race, what really made me hate people, the thief and his friends were all black, the woman and the good guy were both white, and I had to actively remind myself that this had nothing to do with the color of anybody's skin. I've seen smarmy white do the same kind of thing, so I got to hate the thief for stealing, myself for having a racist reaction, and the thief again for making me hate myself. Story 27, I guess this can count as a moment, but a couple of weeks back, there was a nationwide Amber Alert that was sent out at around 11 p.m. Of course, you would expect people to be sympathetic and keep a lookout if they're able to. If not, they would simply ignore it and go back to sleep. But no, these entitled people took it upon themselves to call 911 to complain about how the Amber Alert was too loud and woke their babies up. Questioned why they were getting an Amber Alert in a city 6 hours away, as if abductors can't travel during the time an Amber Alert is being issued, and someone on social media accounts to completely downplay the situation. I've never been so ashamed in Canadians, and that whole situation still has me extremely livid. For those wondering, BTW, the abductor was caught in a city a couple of hours away from where he and his daughter was last seen as a result of the Amber Alert. The child, however, was sadly found deceased. Edit: if anyone wants to read up on it, hey race an article going further in depth about what I just explained here. Story 28. On my drive to drop my toddler off at daycare this morning, I stopped at a red light in the right-hand turning lane. It is a busy intersection of two highways. Each road has multiple turning and going straight lanes. The light goes through several cycles for the various different lanes. Suffice to say, during rush hour it is a busy and complicated intersection. There is no right on red sign and I am first in line. Technically I can go if there is no traffic, but like I said, it is not a simple matter to determine what lanes are currently allowed to go and when I am in the clear to turn. With a baby in the car, I always err on the side of caution and just wait out the light. Not cool apparently, because the guy behind me starts laying on his horn, like honk 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 honk. I can see him in my rear view and he is like gesturing madly for me to go and flipping me off. Within 15 seconds the light turned green for us and we went. Dude, I am not risking pulling out into this madness with a baby in the car, so you can save 15 seconds on your commute. You need to chill the out. Story 29. I work near a Planned Parenthood and walk by it each morning. There's about a 5,050 chance of a handful of protesters being outside bothering people that go in, and the result of that coin flip can really affect my mood. I hate those protesters. Story 30. One of my 21-year-old coworkers. She regularly complains that people with shaved heads are lazy and need to get a real haircut and start doing their hair. I'm sorry Karen, not all of us have 3 hours in the morning to do our hair, and it takes me only 20 minutes per week to shave my head. 2 of the 4 men with shaved heads are already bald. One of them has a very young son to worry about, and the last thing he needs is hair, and the 4th already looks like a cave troll and doesn't need hair, making him look like an orc. Leave the shaved head crew alone and let us be lazy. Story 31. I'm heavily pregnant. Finished work last week and decided on my lunch break to take a walk down the mall and enjoy the sunshine. It's been a high-risk and stressful pregnancy, and I was feeling overwhelmed with handing everything over at work earlier than I had planned. So I went out to clear my head and bought myself a nice juice as a treat and took a stroll waddle. It was pretty busy, and as I was walking one way, a youngish group, early 20s, were walking toward me. I did that thing where you move slightly out of the way so everyone can easily pass each other. One of the guys in the group deliberately did the opposite, moved into my space, locked his shoulder into place and bumped into me with his shoulder, with enough force that I stumbled pretty badly, then kept walking. One of the girls in the group turned around and looked me up and down. It was horrible, I nearly cried. Story 32. A woman in Kelowna stole this man's golden retriever right out of its yard. The man had had this dog since it was a puppy. Then they get a call from a man saying he has the dog but will only give it back if he gets the $5,000 reward. Luckily police managed to get to the dog and it's been returned to its owner, but God, people. As a dog owner, you never mess with someone's fluffy babies. Story 33. The election of Donald Trump. It has really impacted how I view humanity and pretty much extinguished any hopeful view I had. I knew political parties were bad and people toe the party line, but I never realized how deep it went. I'm sure someone will come on here and call me a dirty lib for saying this. I was Republican until Trump, by the way, which also illustrates how these people think and recoil at any criticism of the man. I can see why cruel like him, but the amount of people I thought had brains and morals that invent excuses and entire alternate universes to defend him, like I said, it's pretty eye-opening. Story 34. Whenever I see journalists and photographers surround the grieving with no regards to their emotional and physical state and well-being, why there's nothing in place to disallow this, I don't know. Take commercial air crashes for example, where families who are up to their heads with the sensory overload that they're experiencing and only made more isolated by having tens to hundreds of people surrounding for a picture, whilst they're weak-kneed on the floor against the wall against each other. Documenting the event is important, but there are greater distances and the right tools for the job. Being a tool does not help that statement. Story 35. Every once in a while pizza will magically appear in the work kitchen. Repeatedly, whoever takes the last slice just leaves the box on the counter, getting my hopes up incredibly high when I turn the corner only to crash lower than ever when I open the box. Throw the thing away, you animals. When traffic is backed up through an intersection, and someone, instead of waiting until there's an open spot, decides to move forward up to the car in front of them, meaning they're now stopped and sitting in the middle of the intersection. This means that when their light cycle ends and it goes green for the other direction, they're now blocking traffic. It's an absolutely selfish and idiotic move, because they're literally gaining nothing by moving forwards. The traffic wasn't going to move anyway, so they've gained nothing. All they did was further back up traffic in the other direction. The last time this happened to me, which was a week or so ago, I must have laid on my horn for about 45 seconds. I really wanted the person to remember that day. Story 36. We have basically entered an era where you have to be the best at everything and more so become an elitist. Enjoy gaming, your KD better be all that, you like longboarding, get a ray all board. That's just the sort of attitude I seem to come across all the time. Just shut up and let me enjoy my Story 37. This will probably get buried, but I got rear-ended by a lady last Friday. And even though the police issued her a citation and there is a police report, she is telling her insurance that she has no idea what accident they are talking about. Unfortunately, I was so caught up in calling the police and giving them all of my information and making sure they were recording her information for me that I have no photos of her at the scene. She also immediately left after speaking to the police. Looking back, I had plenty of time to get the photo evidence I needed to place her at the scene, but with all the adrenaline of the moment, I just was not thinking clearly. How can people be so shitty to try to do that to somebody else? Story 38. People who don't listen when you repeatedly tell them something. My boss has continually asked me for a very specific paper that we signed in 2017. I don't have it, nor do I even have access to it. His boss secretary has it on file and we haven't seen it since we handed it in. Anything we sign for his boss I don't keep, since it's for their records not ours. He didn't say call the district office and get it. No, he asked me for it. Assuming that I had it, I only have the copies with the numbers, not the signatures. I keep detailed and full records of everything, but I can't just make things appear out of thin air. Story 39. In science class we were using the use of living creatures and ethics boards. One kid started fighting against ethics boards because mice aren't human, they don't deserve rights. This is the same kid that calls Jews pigs, is abusive, and generally a disgusting waste of perfectly good organs. Story 40. A guy in New Zealand has targeted Muslim mosques, killing 30 people today. We are a country with unarmed police, but nutters like this are changing our society for the worse with their hatred. We have watched other counties with their gun issues over the years, but increasingly, it's spilling into our country. This makes me hate the behavior of a few humans. Story 41. I was at a police commission meeting not too long ago, and a lady from the Pacific Palisades was talking about she and her stupid little neighborhood watch formed a task force with the LAPD to clean up the homeless and keep them off their beach. I was disgusted. Those entitled bags used police resources to basically harass homeless people and take the few belongings they had. I'm from an area similar to the Pacific Palisades, and I can't stand the culture within these wealthy communities. We grew up on the nice side of the tracks and were conditioned to not give about what goes on the other side as long as it stays on the other side. These dipshits have this spoiled rotten mentality that what's mine is mine, and am entitled to take yours as well. Story 42. Some followed me home and stole my wheels at 3 a.m. in the morning on my 2-month-old car. I ended up paying $1,000 for deductible and the dealer scratched up my car when I got it back. I also found out today that they filled my left tires at 46 psi while the right one's at 38 and the recommended is 33. Story 43. It was 2 days ago when the college entrance cheating scandal broke. How much was I and others from being looked over because we were poor back in high school? Story 44. People who clip their nails in the office. It's disgusting. 2 people where I work always do it, and it's always gross. I hate the sound, then they chew and crunch loud. Think the sound a dog makes when you toss him a biscuit. I kid you not, exactly like that. I hate gross rude people. Story 45. Red lights have become meaningless for many people in our area. Drivers plow right through red lights long after the lights have turned solid red. Those behind the wheel seem not to care that their actions could cause serious accidents. Story 46. I just opened a drive-through restaurant. I've worked for a little over 20 years in a variety of restaurants both front and back of house, and you quickly realize that people are terrible. Working in a drive-through is unbelievable. Dropping the check to less than 10 and putting a speaker between you and the guest opens your eyes to what the world is truly made up of. Story 47. After Trump has clearly demonstrated that he's incompetent, dishonest, and mentally ill, his supporters still love him. They call him the greatest president in history and claim he was chosen by God. Story 48. Lately, I'm pretty sure it started when I was 1 year old. That time my dad yelled at me for drawing on my toys with a marker. And before you say you can't possibly remember that, I remember my mom singing to me while I was in the crib. She was light enough to fit in it and she confirmed this. But I have autism, so my brain works weird anyway. Story 49. Classmate mentions James Charles. Math teacher who doesn't know him by name but saw a pic of him goes on to preach about how gays are abominations, how nature demands that only a man and a woman should be together, how God made a man and a woman, and not 2 men, and how he'd kill his son if he found out he was gay. Really disgusted, to be honest. Wasn't expecting that from him. I was actually looking up to him up until that moment. Story 50. I work retail and I am getting really sick of my place of work rewarding. Yes, it's not like I am sympathetic, but my store has a 15 days return period. It's printed on the receipt. I'm not going to return an item a year out of policy, 1 or 2 days, sometimes up to a week. If the item is over 200 I am willing to make an exception. But it pisses me off that full-grown adults will throw tantrums over it, and these are people older than me. If one thing retail has taught me is that white people are aware of their privilege, and know that if they throw a tantrum they can get away with it, and I am white and I noticed it, not to say other people of color can't be too. But I swear the people that throw the biggest tantrums about rules are white people. I have actually been tempted to do an experiment and put a hidden camera at customer service and have a counter in the corner for each individual skin color throwing a hissy fit and see if my theory is correct, and to be more specific, it's boomer white people. It's irritating. I am told time and time again not to be a snowflake millennial, that nothing is ever handed to me and I have to work for everything, while at the same time the same age group that tells me that also yells at me that our policy is not fair, and that I need to be more sympathetic to their situation. Well them. If they won't even respect me at my job, why should I reward them? Story 51. A bunch of people are trying to shut down the new bike lane outside my house, claiming they never heard anything about the plan, which is a disingenuous lie, as there were loads of meetings and emails about the plan. They just didn't pay attention until they could play the outrage card. Story 52. A village near me voted to build a new IC detention center because it isn't their job to solve the immigrant problem and they can profit off of it. It was hard to sit through that meeting. Story 53. As I grow older, my asocialness has been replaced by antisocialness. I don't fear the thoughts opinions of people I share disdain for. People me off. People cause me problems. Yet if I voice my concern over a problem, I get the old it could be worse. Life is a gift. Bullshit. Heard that one too many times. And now I'm a changed man. Story 54. Not a moment exactly, but the fact that Roundup glyphosate, which has now been confirmed to be a carcinogen, is routinely sprayed on our food, including on full-grown crops right before harvesting, and sprayed on lawns everywhere, and no one seems to give a, we are all routinely exposed to it and there's no way to avoid it. The government pretends to care about people's health by controlling drugs and other substances, but all they care about is treating humans as money-making commodities. Monsanto gets away with it because they probably make the government millions and millions of dollars. We are killing the environment and killing ourselves. Story 55. When something bad is happening and people whip out their phones to film it, in today's world, someone could be having a heart attack and people would whip out their phones to film the emergency instead of lending a hand. It's shameful, honestly. Story 56. People posting pictures of their naked or half-naked babies and toddlers doing things like bathing and potty training, over and over and over again on social media. I do not need to see your toddler naked on the potty. I do not need to see the aftermath of your toddler using the potty. I do not, and the world does not, need to see your naked toddler on social media. Story 57. How someone dismissed my opinion based on my skin color and gender. Again, you don't get it. You're a white male, you clearly don't understand, blah blah blah. 1. You for making the issue a race and gender one when it originally wasn't, and 2. You for not considering each person's unique history and what they bring to the table in a conversation. Racism is racism no matter who you apply it to, you idiot. This country and how they go about bringing down people with different opinions and not trying to hear them out. Story 58. Finding out you have fake friends. I had 2 guy friends and ended up dating one. We always hung out, all 3 of us, but the other friend just wouldn't give us time together. He went everywhere we went. He had other friends and met them when we weren't meeting. We'd hang out and he'd say he'd leave an hour before us so we could get some time together. But in the end would stay. We followed us on Valentine's Day, birthdays. Christmas we didn't mind, but Valentine's Day, I mean, come on, lol. Anyway, he didn't like us being together, and one day he called the guy I was dating and said stuff about how we shouldn't be together and that I'm a good friend, but I'm using the guy I'm dating for God knows what. I quietly listened to him say about me while the guy I dated just sat smiling and TBH, I think he fancied the guy I was dating and didn't like us being together. He had to know everything, including what happened, or if we had, how long, how was it, etc. The guy I dated later I caught texting his best friend's GF calling her princess and other weird names, but somehow I had to fix the problem and talk to him first, because according to the third wheel I shouldn't be acting like this. He's such a good guy. Now Eunice over him out of a relationship where that nice guy friend would force and guilt trip me into sleeping with him. I'd say no but he'd ask why continuously till I'd just say fine. It was a chore for me more than anything. He'd hold me down at times. I once woke up to him rubbing himself against me. I regret doing it with him so much. It's the first time I've regretted anything. I hate now. I'm happy just handling that stuff myself. He'd say he'd cut himself if I left cause I'm the one. Friends at uni say he's been so quiet and depressed cause I won't talk to him. Tell me to talk to him cause he's a nice guy. Somehow no matter what upset me or what he did I was in the wrong. But now it's all done and gone and I feel so much better and more free. No more drama, fake people. Just me, my cats and my newfound happiness and peace alone. The funny this is they both still hang out, and hang with my other uni friends, because to everyone he's a nice guy who doesn't swear and am the bad girl with dyed hair, tattoos, very open and cusses ever so slightly, who did everything wrong. I hate people, why can't you just be honest? Why is everyone so fake these days? Back in school, no one cared what race, character or how much money you had or anything really. Everyone was friends, everyone was happy, everyone was innocent. I miss those days. Sat in my mathematics class and one of the questions talks about 5 men and 7 women, unimportant question, and the boys at the back start up this cackling and jeering about how women are property and how men are superior. Story 59. Almost every time I go to the theater these days, it just showcases how much worse society's general sense of empathy has become. People letting their kids running amok, cell phones, lights, loud talking, chair kicking, etc. Story 60. I can't fully explain it because to do so I need to explain how my street is built, but basically there is this kid on the bus back home from school who does something that makes the bus driver skip my stop, then stop at the next stop, the kids stop, then turn around and stop at my stop, and he does this every day, and it adds about 3 minutes to my ride home, and I wouldn't be this mad if I hadn't heard the kid say to his friend that he's doing it so he gets home faster and doesn't have to wait for people to get off the bus. Story 61. I've seen a couple of Facebook comments by friends who are lifelong conservatives. They are now loyal Trumpsters and they are gun aficionados. They say they are ready to initiate an armed fight against socialists and communists who may try to support democratic control of the government in 2020. Story 62 Monday I got scammed for over 1,000. I realized it seconds too late. The money was already gone, I'm a giant moron, but that person using fear and manipulation to get what was not theirs, I am so mad at myself for falling for it. I'm always skeptical of everything, and I still fell for it. Story 63 People elected a Nazi as the president of Brazil. He's in power for less than 3 months, but every single day we sum about him. Just 2 of them from this week. A year ago a politician from Rio was murdered. Now they got the 2 suspects. They are ex-cops, members of a criminal militia group. What does this has to do with the president? Well, several people from this militia have worked with the president before. The president has a photo with one of the suspects and the other one is or was, literally, his neighbor, and one of his sons dated the daughter of one of the suspects. The B-Way, the chief cop who was leading the investigation, was sent to do an exchanged program in some random country for the time being for no reason. He's gonna get rid of public pensions plans and will give all the money to the rich and to the banks. That's literally what he's gonna do. The pension that old people spent their whole lives paying and that now they are using to buy medicine to survive, all gone to the rich. These are just 2 things, just from last week's. There are tons more and people still think the guy is awesome, honest, and that he's gonna save the country from communism. Yep, communism. By the way, I tried to ask my dad what communism was and his answer was, communists are people who want chaos, who don't want to work together. Yeah, I've lost hope in humanity.